Grand Rising. This is the Straight Talk Morning Show on the Straight Talk Network. My name is Andre Hill. I'm your host. Our co-host, the chairman, he's out at a funeral today, so it's going to be me and the engineer, Andre Jr. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. Peace, family.
All right. So we got a series of hot topics today, and we got some videos. You know, we play these videos because it's a testament from the public. We get them from social media. We can't verify all of them, you know, but the ones that make common sense, common spiritual sense, we will play them and have them list them as to give you something to think about. But as usual on Fridays, I send a post out on Facebook. And our topics for today's discussion are as follows. This week discussion, Generation Z and Alpha. A new breed is here. If you've been complicit with the systems destroying our people, parents and grandparents, it's time to wake up. Lock your doors and arm yourselves because this is what the youth see. Also, starseeds in retreat. Many gifted souls have gone quiet, too afraid to expose their light. What does this mean for humanity? Also, tribal life, part 2. In a world reshaping itself, how do we as indigenous people address the disproportion of men to women? What systems must we build to survive and thrive? We are not going to sugarcoat. We're here to enlighten, tap in, share, bring your questions. You know, when I look at these topics, you know, we have to ask the question how we're going to deal with this paradigm shift. And you know, you reflect back on your own personal experiences, but you know, I know quite a few of our elder people who are working part-time jobs as school teachers, and they give me some insight on what's going on with these kids in the school, and a lot of them, you know, they're not listening. They're acting out, and the frustration is coming not only from the school environment, but the frustration is coming from their parents because their parents are not doing well in this system as well. So we got a system of chaos. What I'm concerned about is I refer to these generations, Generation Z and Generation Alpha, as indigo children. These children have what they call spiritual common sense. And what I mean by that is that they see things different. And they're not in a maze the way my generation was back from the 40s and the 50s. They see things as they are. You know, they don't believe in the system. They're bringing back with them in this lifetime memories and experiences, karma, that necessarily, you know, that reflects, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going along with this BS, you know, and it's not making sense. And why are we allowing this spiritually sick culture rule our money, rule our politics, and all that? They can see that clearly. I don't care how you try to sugarcoat it. They can see it. And so I'm not the only one, you know, other than outside of the teachers that are from my generation that are working in these schools and coming to an understanding that these kids are different, and they're not motivated to go work for a company for 50, 65 years just to retire to get a Social Security check while different groups, and this is not all Caucasian, different people are rewarded to fly all over the world and experience and enjoy this planet. And then question is like, why can't I do that? And no, I'm not going to sell my soul to be able to do that. And so these children are building up a resistance to your instructions, to your commands. They don't want to follow the program at all because their previous life experience are resonating through the current time, that I can't believe I'm back here doing this same dumb crap all over again. Hey man, so play that the video. Now this young brother is the governor of Maryland. I lived in the Maryland area, for quite a few years, and I understand, the mindset, the DC mindset. The black folks that live there, that once lived in DC. Then when Reagan got in office, they initiated the New World Order agenda to move all black folks out of the inner city of DC. And so they recollected themselves, and they went out into the DC, to the Maryland area, and started building a political force. But it's still tied into the same system. That's not the one. Is that the one? I'm sorry, the one with the debt. No, not that one. The Maryland, the governor. I think I gave you the line up. The next one. It's not that one either. So,
oh, shoot. Keep it going. We're gonna find it. Now.
Yeah. So this brother in Maryland responded to what Donald Trump basically said about the youth, and he said that they are born to be criminals, and so the governor was basically trying to clean up the act by saying, I have faith in you. We're not going to write you off that way. That's the one. So yeah. So we're going to set this up to give you an understanding of what these children are going through and why I suggested you get guns and lock doors, because if you continue to be complicit with this madness, these children are going to think you're part of the enemy. But go ahead and shoot.
The president from the Oval Office calls you natural-born killers, children who are born to be violent. I say this: I respect the office, but I will never honor ignorance. To our children, you are loved and you're needed. To our children, we believe in you and we invest in you. To our children, we love you and we are going to honor every God-honored potential that you have. To our children, there's nothing we won't do to keep you safe. To our children, we love you and we are going to make sure that you are never bullied, and I don't care what position they hold. Because I want to be clear, if I listened, when I was coming up, if I listened to the tropes and to the trolls, if I listened to the haters and the heartless, if I listened to the Archie Bunker mindset and the dog whistling, if I spent my time focusing on those people who did not love me instead of focusing on those people who do, I would never be the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland and the only black governor in the United States of America. Here in Maryland, we believe in you. We're going to support you. We're going to make sure you're safe. And we're going to make sure that every God-honored opportunity is within your grasp.
All right. So that's an honorable statement, and it means well. But you're still working in this system of trying to fix a system that was not designed to ever work in favor of nobody, not even Caucasian people. It was designed to divide us as a species. It was designed to enslave us, and it was designed to keep us working against each culture, and so there is a provision in the Constitution when the government is no longer serving the people, then they need to shut it down and start all over again. But what we're recommending, what we're doing is, as the Aboriginal people of the Americas, we are just separating from the government, because the whole government, even though the Constitution was intended to be an honorable Constitution, it was flawed, because when it was written, it had the clauses in there to allow slavery, and it covered up the lie that we all came over here on boats from Africa and that we were slaves, and that was a big cover up, and that's the most fraudulent thing that was done to the Aboriginal people of this land ever in the history of mankind. That was a horrible fraud. Now, there were people from Africa that were brought over here on boats, but most of those groups, they maintained their colonies, and they kept the name, we Africans, and in some cases the language and the culture. But that was a separate group of people from the Aboriginals, the ones that were here thousands of years ago, that had cultures, that built buildings, and a lot of it is being suppressed, and a lot of that information is in the Smithsonian Institute, and they're not going to expose it until this madness crushes in on itself. And so, I'm going to, Junior, let me ask you a question. So you have experience in your relationships, with women, some of the young people, and when I think about your generation, when you were born in the mid '80s, the ones that are born in the Generation Z and Generation Alpha, what's your take on it?
It's a general question, man. I thought you were going to ask me something specific. I think they're overall. Let's start somewhere. I think based on everything that you tried to cover so far, seeing or trying to put them in the scope of being under fire. Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, but all generations is under fire under this parasitic system. All right. Y'all's generation was under fire. It didn't look like it, but y'all were taught and conditioned to go to work for these institutions, these industries for years, and encouraged not to reestablish all the communities that have been destroyed that we originally had, right? So that was y'all's fire. Mine was, they had a new set of diseases, a new set of drugs, a new set of let's say media culture that they tried to impose on us. Let's say through hip hop culture, rap culture, and all of that jazz. It was always promoting a very dysfunctional mind state and paradigm among us. But now this generation, what you call them, Z and Alpha, I know y'all hear me say this a lot, but they're being heavily pushed into the transhumanism agenda. Meaning, what I've seen a lot lately of, a lot of people who are becoming what they call it, trans. Those people are young. They're like 20, they're like mid-20s. Very interesting. They're like in their mid-20s, and I'd be sitting back wondering, like, where y'all get the money to do that? Now I may just be a little, older, because it may not cost as much to do it, back in the early 2000s. Or it may not cost as much now as it did back then. I don't know. But either way, that's one end of it. The fact that a lot of our babies, they can't live without a device in their hand. You take that away from them, or if they'd be mad if they go somewhere and there ain't no Wi-Fi. I'm serious. They'd be upset. You feel what I'm saying? Like, my generation, I think we were the last of the Mohicans that used to go outside and climb. I don't think none of these children ever climbed a tree in their life. You see what I'm saying? Or let's say, rode around the block or rode around the neighborhood on bicycles until the sun fell. My point is, my generation, we played video games, but we played them after we came in from outside, right? And that was the beginning of what they have now pushed on to, the generations up under me. And so when I'm getting at with the transhumanism thing is this: uh, social media, social media in general, and I had to rethink uh, or my opinion on transhumanism being somewhat in the future. And I had to sit back and think about it now. It's happening right now. Because, when we think about transhumanism, one component of it is that a virtual world is being created for them to live inside of instead of living inside, their own tangible and empirical reality. And this is what I mean by that. People on social media, especially a younger generation, they're getting on there being whoever it is they want the world to see them as, not necessarily as who they are. And that's already a form of a different universe. It's already a form of virtual reality, right? Because when it's complete virtual reality, people can log in with a particular avatar and a personality that they can make up, and it's going to be somebody totally different than what's behind the character in the account, right? But that's pretty much what's happening now on all social medias. You've got filters, you got AI now, and somebody can present something that they may not actually be. Saying all that to say this, if we are looking at where Gen Z and the Alpha generation are under attack, that's pretty much where it is right now. And again, going back to what you were saying, one of the main reasons is because we have a lot of assimilated and fractured communities. Yeah, a lot of assimilated and fractured communities, and the connection between, let's say, at least your generation and their generation is very thin.
So wait a minute. Let me ask you this question. So you're closer to the generation, these two generations, than I am. What that governor was saying, I'm a black man and I've accomplished this and I'm not a criminal and all of that. Are you hearing what he's saying? That, or are you hearing blah, 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 blah? What do you think these young kids are hearing from him?
I mean, as young kids, they're going to hear it and then wait to see what happens, right? But me and at least my generation knows that. Oh, well, I'll take that back. People like me in my generation. Let me be real specific. People like me in my generation. We know this. If we don't have our own jurisdiction, our own wholly controlled and owned institutions, and our own wholly controlled and owned infrastructure, then none of what he's saying is actually going to have any real effect.
Right.
Because reality is this. He's talking to kids at on that podium, and he's talking to these kids in the school. I saw that. But after these children go home, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they go home. I mean, it's they're facing whatever reality they have at the house, and which is this: fractured communities and assimilated communities. In other words, meaning this. I mean, we're very keen on what a fractured community look like. It may be where they getting rid of all the hoods. Those were the original dysfunctional fractured communities. But see, now all of these people who were originally living in the hood, now they just scattered everywhere out among the suburbs. They're still renting. They still renting, right? But then the thing is this: they don't have any stake, any investment in that area, right? And I mean, look, a majority of the people that move out there, they have no consensus among their neighbors on anything cultural, spiritual, or political. So there's no community out there either.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's an assimilated community, that means they still paying property taxes to, let's say, boards of education that are still crafting and gatekeeping the curriculum on what's going to be taught to those children. Right. So, I mean, like, it sounds good. It's commendable what he's saying overall, but realistically, we're gonna have to be a little more extreme. We're gonna have to be way more diligent than that. I mean, I think what he's saying has been said before.
Well, the point I'm getting at is to grandma, to the parents, grandma, great grandma, that are still complicit. Well, we gonna go vote, and we gonna keep going to church, praying to Jesus, and we gonna keep it. Are these children? They're getting information off the internet that contradicts this old style, this old culture, and so at some point, they're gonna look at grandma, the parents, grandma, and great grandma as being ignorant, and that when it really hits, when the crap hits the fan, and they need some resources, or in the case where grandma, grandpa, or somebody take their device from them, they be ready to kill one of the parents. Are you aware of that?
I haven't seen it to that extreme, but I wouldn't put it past them. I'm saying I haven't seen it to that extreme, not with the children that I know, I would say, right? Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't put it past some of these children, because not only would they, well, let's get into, if you snatch one of these devices out of their hand, why would they try to up and kill you? So, now mind you, we talking about Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Who's having those children? My generation. And I'm gonna say this, my generation raising children is interesting. I'm watching them. You know what I'm saying? I'm watching them. And it's a different relationship that we have with our children's generation versus than we had with y'all. You see what I'm saying? It's a different relationship. And I think a lot of parents, they're getting ready to starting to blur the line between friendship and parenting, right? So, there may be some children that feel like, hey, they may be able to get on their parents' level because there's not the fear factor is not the same, just to be straightforward. Right. The fear factor is not the same. To where, it's a lot of kids. It was a lot of parents out here at one point about 2 or 3 years ago. They was going through this thing called, I think it was called soft parenting or something like that, where they wouldn't whip the children's ass. I was like, see how long that was like, see how it turned out for y'all. But then it went away. I ain't heard about it. So I think they back to whooping asses. But why, again, I think we do need to hone in on that and really talk about like the mind state of these children, especially them being being willing to fight and or harm any one of their parent or grandparent for whatever reason. I will say this, I'm just giving you some keen insight on it. One thing these children are learning way better than my generation is they're monetizing social media. They got a different hustle than we do. They monetize. A lot of them are trying to get money on social media, and some of them are, probably not to the level to where they can, truly sustain themselves. But I mean, they it's doing something. They rather do that than go spend 8 hours on somebody's clock.
But you see what social media did when our show got outrageous and telling the truth, that they'll shut you down. You know, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, they'll control your numbers, how many people are watching. So that's almost a trap. The point I'm getting at is that what are these children capable of if all this hit the ground? Grandma and grandpa sitting around, or great grandma, because right now, in your case, if you'd have had a child when you was in your 20s, they would be in their 20s now, 20s, right? Yeah. And so you could theoretically be a grandparent. So what are these children? They're gonna look at grandma, great grandpa, or grandma, and if they still sitting around saying, well, y'all just need to go to school, get your job, and get yours, I got mine. And these children, you know, they can't eat, they can't, you know, because this demon that's controlling the government has elevated the end game. So they're going to systematically shut this thing down. Right now, even the Agent Orange and his family, they're developing a new currency. What for? Even though we know the old currency is an illusion as well, but they're developing a new currency so they can control the narrative to do what? Enslave people further. So if we're not at the table when they develop their new digital currency, and we've seen what happened when we were not at the table when they developed the American dollar, you know, redlining, denying our loan, denying us loans, or giving us high interest rates, or foreclosing. And you know, I told you about the experience when we had our program up in Nashville. I went to them and asked for a forbearance program while the Dixie Mafia was shutting down our daycare. And I went back to the banks to ask for a forbearance program, and they acted like they didn't know what the hell that meant for me to reorganize until I get through fighting off these Dixie Mafia people. So you know, I'm just working on. I want to hear, because you could give a better understanding. At the end of the day, they see grandma, grandpa, great grandma, great grandpa sitting around with the resources. What are these children capable of doing if? Now, you have a unique situation. I've never been complicit with this crap. So you have no bones with me. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What are these children capable of doing as grandma, grandpa still sitting around living off their Social Security, their retirement? And these children like, I got to do what I got to do. What is the potential mindset if they continue, if grandma, grandpa, and great grandma, grandpa can be complicit with a system that is shutting them down? What are they capable of doing?
No, I mean, I don't know exactly what narrative you're trying to drive this into, but to be you know, to be real and then to be frank, this is a reality, regardless of where you're trying to go with it. You know, these children are going to be dependent on their family. They're going to be dependent upon their family. Their parents, which are my age, and this is probably what's really going to happen. Especially in the Aboriginal community, whether we like it or not, a lot of people don't. You know, they're gonna have to band their family together and work together in order to survive, but potentially uncomfortable situations. That's what's really gonna happen. Now, as far as grandma and grandpa go, more than likely, in most cases, realistically, they just will not talk to them. And one of the main reasons they're not going to talk to them is because if let's say the boomer generation, if they are still regurgitating old paradigms of information that, like you say, these children can look up on Google and debunk in 5 seconds, then they just not, I mean, there's already this, they don't want to talk to them about that stuff now, because they don't want to have that redundant conversation with them. So more than likely, in most cases, they just simply are going to not talk to their grandparents or great grandparents. And then what does that mean though? That means the boomer generation is going to have a cut off legacy. That's what that means. I mean, that's a death in it on its own. See what I'm saying? That's a death all on its own, to where your grandchildren don't want to remember your name, don't want to remember you existed, because they don't feel like there was much contributed to them from you. That's more than likely what happened. But you know, again, realistically, because you got to remember, you know, my generation, you know, we grew up with the for lack of a better word, the thuggish era. I can tell you right now, everybody from my generation, we grown and we polished now, but we still slap. I mean, listen, we ain't like these. We ain't gonna play with these kids. They ain't gonna kill us. They know better than to try that, because we all kind of got that. We all got that mentality of the music they listened to that came out 20 years ago. we still have that mentality. We just grown and we polished and we know we gotta do it. And it's a time and place for everything. But these kids, they not gonna do that to us. And truth told is, we're not gonna let them do it to nobody else either, to be quite frank with you. So no, I mean, more than likely now, they're not gonna roll up, they're not gonna break in your house and shoot you to take your whatever. No. But they probably will disown you, is the point.
Well, I think we're, you know, I'm basing this on what I'm hearing, you know, from people from my generation that are going and taking these temporary school jobs because nobody wants to teach anymore. So there's a big demand for people from my generation to go in and fill in as subs to teach these classes, you know. And what I'm hearing from, and I'm explaining to these elders, you know, these kids are not going along with the old information, the old traditions of going to church, praying to an entity that was made up by the Catholic Church, you know, a frequency that hasn't worked for us in 400 years, and or believing that all we got to do is go vote. And Trump already demonstrated that Elon Musk may have had some work to do on the voting machines, and now they're gerrymandering the voting districts like what they did in Texas, and went in and shifted the map around so they can gain an extra 5 seats for the White House to maintain this dominance in you know, in Congress. Wait a minute. Why are we still trying to hold on fixing the system when we understand that the entity, let's go back to the Wizard of Oz. You know, we did this show several times, and it was the Wizard of Oz. It was a little demon behind the curtain working this illusion, you know, and the illusion was to keep everybody in control. That movie had some significance. The movie was shot back in the 30s. But it had significance on the reality of our situation. First and foremost, the point I'm driving on this now to great-grandma, grandma, you know, and grandpa and all those, and the ones, because in your generation, a lot of those parents have just given up and turned the kids over to grandma and grandpa, because a lot of you guys went on the walkabout. And so now the grandparents are having to look after the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren, you know. So the point I'm driving home here is I'm hoping this is a reality check to the great-grandmas and all that. This system, as demonstrated in the movie shot back in the 30s, that is an illusion. It is not designed to be fixed other than being separating from it or shutting it down. And we're definitely gone beyond the point of organizing to shut it down. But we are at the point of separating from it. We have those rights as the Aboriginals of the Americas to reclaim our nationality as an Aboriginal / Native American or Indigenous, and start to govern ourselves and separate our system. Well, what about my retirement? What about my Social Security? Let me explain something to you. These moves that they're making right now, they want to get control of their Social Security. They want to privatize it. And they know it is linked to the concept of a Ponzi scheme. And if you don't invest in an alternative system, if you don't start showing up and saying, well, we need to do something, because these people in the White House have demonstrated even the continued support of Israel and giving them that welfare check. Every household in Israel, it is estimated, they get a $30,000 worth of benefits from the U.S. every year. $30,000 just because the so-called Israelites, and it's based on a biblical term, save Israel, that they don't even believe in. And so when these young people start coming to that realization and saying, I'm just saying me, I'm relying on you, son, but I'm saying me, if I was a kid and I know that my grandparents and great-grandparents are still complicit with this ignorance, maybe not talking to them is the thing to do. But if it came down to, I gotta eat and I gotta live as a child, and these new indigo children, their mentality, I believe, is there's something wrong with you, grandma and grandpa. And if it's gonna come up to me surviving versus you only got a few more years left on this planet. I'm gonna do what I have to do to survive, and that's the point I'm getting at. Now, getting back to the governor, his attitude was, yes, yeah, we need to underpin, and we definitely need to do something, but still working through this so-called United States of corporate America system. It ain't designed to be fixed. It's not designed to be worked, and they didn't just start doing this 10 years ago. This is a 300-year program, And so we have one particular option, and that's to start the process of separating even Caucasian people. I was watching this video of this Caucasian woman saying, she said, look, we ain't qualified. You black folks, y'all haven't survived Reagan, George Wallace, all these crazy people, and you all are still here. We need y'all wisdom because this fascist system that is impending, we don't know how to beat this. Can y'all come help us? Now, they're saying this to the black folks who voted against this current administration, and the one that they voted for out of fear that if they don't maintain white supremacy, they realize they made a mistake and they need our counsel. So here's what I'm suggesting. We can counsel them, but first and foremost, we need to heal. And we can do that by separating, get involved with UAARnation.org, go to our website, or give us a call at 813-669-7114. And, because we are working on a serious plan to separate and step back from this impending karma that's coming, and it's coming. It's guaranteed to come. And so, I remember last week, there was a young lady responding to the conversation we were having. And that's always asking us to join something, always asking for donations. But this same woman, when we try to ask her, can you come in and volunteer and work with our legal program? I need some money. So it's going to take some resources. If you don't have the time, we're going to need some resources. So we did set up our website where you can make a donation And we're setting it up where you make a $40 donation. We're going to send you an autographed copy of our book, Lucifer's Revenge, which is a playbook, not necessarily for you, Grandma and Grandpa, but your children. It will send a message to them. Hey, I know we messed up, but I think you, grandchild, great-grandchild, could better understand this book than we can, because we so far gone in this this matrix of the Jesus Christ and God bless America. We so far gone, we don't know how to turn back from it. Make a donation, you know, and we're gonna, you know, once you do that, you make a $40 donation. We'll send you an autograph book. We'll put you on the mailing list, the updates. So when as we reclaim our land and take our children out of the matrix, we will be taking a look at your children, your grandchildren. You know, it's first come, first serve. And so that's the incentive. So go to our website, uaarnation.org. Now, it doesn't explain yet. My son he's one man. He can use, if you got a little kid out there and you supporting them and they got good computer skills, call that number, 813-669-7114. And my son will be glad to help guide him in teaching them how to set up our website, set up all these systems. But this system is done, folks. And if you continue to hold on it and don't demonstrate what, like that governor is saying, or, you know, when Donald Trump said they designed to be criminals, you know, if you don't take that attitude that we're going to stand up and make a change here, then those kids are going to become very dangerous to you in your retirement fund. And you're already taking care of them now, because the generations behind us, they cannot win in this current paradigm that's dying, that's coming to an end. So that was the piece. Hey man, that was we stayed a lot longer on that topic. let's go to the star seeds and talk about the star seeds. Are the ones that can fix things. Just play in one of those videos, and we explain why the star seeds are the way they are.
Our police officers can gun you down and not be held accountable.
Go to the first of all, let me explain to you. Yeah, that one right there. Let me explain to you once again what a star seed is. Okay, a star seed is a soul that come from an advanced civilization, and at whatever point in time in their spiritual evolution, they volunteered to come to a planet like this. It's like a advanced course. You know, they come with a benevolent soul, and they come with the desire to represent and inspire other humans, the humans that have been here for a long time, and help elevate them so that they can follow the light, follow a path of righteousness, balance, and equality. And so what is happening on this planet, and I'm gonna testify from my own experience. I had an experience where I went into the light, which gave me the inspiration to be where I am right now. But I also had an experience where I kind of gave up on humans. I said, man, all the talking I've done, all the sacrifice I've done, I don't see it happen, you know. And so the guardians of the Most High, you know, they put me in a situation where I had to have my chest cut open and have my heart shut down. And so when that happened, I went into the spiritual realm, and they exposed me to, if you give up on this mission right now, this room of darkness is what you're going to experience. And so that was just a reminder that you don't have the authority to give up on the humans. Only the guardians of the Most High, you know, have that authority. And so when they brought me back to life, I'm back here and I'm doing what I do. And this is, you know, this is what a starseed does. And there are many of us here on the planet. But if you're not demonstrating that you're worthy of doing it, making a change for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, then we start asking the question, why is it worth it for me to go out here on the line? Now, I'm a veteran Star Seed, so I know that it's worth it to go ahead and make the sacrifice. I got my wake-up call. So that's what a Star Seed is. So they're in every family might have one. You know, they're the oddballs. We talked about it on previous shows. But these are the kind of things that we're going to put out front to show you just how corrupt that this star system, but by the little man in the Wizard of Oz behind working these scenes, he's just a little weak alien, you know, and he's not no big muscular devil, you know. We give those illusions, we give them power through our ignorance. So, but this is, go ahead and play that video.
We need to stop supporting dictators and Israel. The American taxpayer is paying $30,000 a year for every Israeli man, woman, and child, and most of that money is going into military spending and the repression of the Palestinians, which produces refugees. There are over 40 dictators in the world. The United States loves all of them, except for two: North Korea and Cuba. And Cuba is a good example of the ideological insanity of the United States. Saudi Arabia is the devil. Israel is the devil. Germany and France, for lacking ethics, are the little devils, okay? The United States of America and the bankers are the primary source of support for all dictators on the planet. The common enemy for all people is the deep state that starts with the Rothschilds and the banks and then goes down through the corrupt political systems in every country. These elections are all frauds. The fix is in and the decision's already made, and then goes down through the corporations and the media. We need to stop supporting dictators.
Give me what's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, when I was reading the description of that, and it got into some stuff that he ain't even talk about on the video. The black nobility, and in other words, the original bloodline of the Israelites. I mean, we really got to get into that. We did get into it in our book, Lucifer's Revenge. We actually exposed all of that. But but just talking on what he was presenting on that video. Yeah, the deep state and the fact that a lot of America's economy is built and supported by Americans just for it to be shuffled over into the hands of those, like you said, those dictators. You know, them Zionists, them Khazarians, those Israel, those New Age, well, I guess that a Zionist is a New Age Israelite. That's what that is. In other words, a Southern Russian that moved into the land of Israel in order to take it over. It wasn't even called the land of Israel at the time. But so I guess we really got to talk about it. Why are we giving billions of dollars to Israel? That's the question. Why? Everybody's asking this question. Caucasian people, black people, anybody who's American. We're asking, why is all our money going over there? What you say is enough money going over there for each family to get $30,000 a year?
Well, Israeli family.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's equivalent to $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
And based on a biblical passage.
Well, like you say, I mean, it's more or less about the biblical passage. It's more so about the that bloodline that has infiltrated most Aboriginal nations around the world with Abrahamic religion. That's what it boiled down to, right? Because Judaism, which is primarily practiced in Israel, is an Abrahamic religion. So is Islam. So is Christianity. So is Catholicism. All of them. And again, we broke it down. I support I promote the book, as much as I can. But if you really want to know what that's all about and why we are a money making farm for those dictators, and then if you want to go deeper with it, it's not even about the money. It's more so about the control. It's about the control of human capital. That's what it really boils down to. Because it's like this, you think they would, stop doing what they do. Well, let me speak. Let me speak it in Abrahamic religious believers' language. Do you think the devil will stop pursuing you just because money doesn't exist anymore? No, you just find another route to get to you. Find another vein to bite to siphon blood from you. But find another mechanism of control to try to convince you into believing. Pretty much, that's what's going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, again, in y'all's language, this is still a battle and a war for your soul. For all of my metaphysical people, this is a battle and control for your energy. That's what the real currency is. That's what they really care about, right? So, I mean, it's no mistake that the majority of, really, when you think about it, everybody in North America, Central America, and South America, the major religions are Abrahamic religion now. All right, ain't by no accident. So it was a deliberate agenda to conquer the Western world, because we've got a particular energy over here that is very unique, unmatched, and highly desired by those parasites.
Well, I'm going to give it a different perspective based on this month I'll be 73 years old. I'm gonna give you a perspective from an alien, from coming from another solar system. Every civilization in the universe must take this test, every one of them, before they get to a higher frequency to take charge and control of their planet and their species. Every one of them. So nobody is exempt from this. So Lucifer, the little guy in the Wizard of Oz behind the working, they are paid employees. And their job is to divide you and trick you and freak you out any kind of way they can to turn you against each other until you wake up and start. And the three principles, and understand them. You got to love your fellow humans unconditionally, treat each other the way you want to be treated, and respect the fact that if you're a spiritual entity and you incarnate into a body, that you have something to offer on an equal basis. That's the test. Until you absorb those three principles and say, we're going to change this planet and adapt these three components. Not all this religious dogma. All that crap is designed to divide and conquer. You adapt those three principles, you can change this planet. But otherwise, you're in for a rough ride. So getting back, that's the perspective from an alien looking in, from the outside in. That's what it's a test. Are you going to pass it, or are you going to continue to go along with the illusion? Continue to be fooled. All right. So let us move on into the tribal land. So here's what we're proposing, people. We're proposing that you Aboriginal people stop being hoodwinked, and let's organize these Aboriginal nations and start the process, because Caucasian people are hoping we do it as well. They need us. They'll tell you, we don't know what we're doing. They were only created 6,600 years ago. It took a million years to develop you Aboriginal people. Why are you following this subspecies that just was invented 6,600 years ago? All right, so when we restructure, and the first thing we need to do is get out of the matrix. We mentioned that we need people to join our land recovery committee, you old folks. All we're doing is we're going to state the case, and we're going to demonstrate the technology that we have the authority to reclaim our land. There's a way to go about it. And the first thing we want to do is start taking our children out of this matrix. And when they come out of the matrix and come onto our tribal land, you're going to say, hey, just sit down and go ooh-wah for a minute. You're not going to be forced to do start, unless you need some housing. You want to work on building your own housing. But the community will support the housing, it will support the food, it will support the spiritual development, everything that we need. So you ain't got to get on no job and punch the clock, put in 40 hours a week to just get by and live from paycheck to paycheck. That's out. That's what a trial. I'm gonna let my son explain. Hey man, play the video real quick about the young man that's talking about we don't do nothing, we don't do anything in this country. We got to get away from this. This was designed to make us a bunch of idiots so we can serve Lucifer. Go ahead.
Officers can gun you down and not be held accountable. Okay? We don't produce nothing here in America. We don't have no fashion mills. We don't produce cement. We don't have dual citizenship. We don't get nothing. We don't do shit in America. Okay? This is by design. When you were young, there were trades in the school. There were wood shop. Yep. It was optometry, sex ed, culinary arts. Right? They strategically removed trades out of schools, so they crippled us from being self-employed.
That's a fact.
That's true.
Okay? Check this out though. We didn't do that. They did that to us. To this very day, you can't go to no high school in the ghetto and find a trade in that school. So what happens? Kids get out, they're displaced. They close down the recreational centers. Right? They remove, they put curfews in the parks. Right? So now when we going to play basketball in the summer, now at a certain time, if you get caught past this time, you're going to jail.
Hey man, how are we going to do this different on the tribal lands?
All right, so I said it earlier. Well, the tribal lands, of course, would be jurisdiction, meaning this. You self-govern, own, and manage and produce everything from your own land and community. And it ain't hard. I mean, it's like this. If you haven't thought about that, it sounds like a really uphill thing. But the truth of the matter is, even the young kids, I mean, they be talking shit. I hear them. I see them online talking shit about. They ain't even trying to hire me at McDonald's. So y'all willing to work. And thing is, if you're willing to, if you can go on some job that you ain't never did before. and get trained in 2 weeks and do that job, you can govern and contribute to your own community. I promise you can. I promise you. And then and it ain't gonna be that strenuous. You gonna have stake and ownership in all the businesses. So even if you are, and Dad, you say this all the time, even if you are sweeping the floors, you gonna get a very similar check to the person that's managing the books. Easy. It can be done. It will be done. And you have much more say and a leverage in the political and civic affairs of your community, right? Because in other words, because we out here talking shit about us voting all the time and ain't nothing happening. It ain't nothing gonna happen because it's not designed for it to go down like that. It's not designed for that. But when you develop your own jurisdiction and governance system, it goes down exactly like that. It goes down exactly like that. So in other words, you say, listen, if any of the issues we discussed today about our children, those things get solved in your own jurisdiction immediately. Institutions. Like the young brother was saying on the video, institutions for, of course, we just mentioned education, and institutions for all our own production, institutions on, this kind of segues off of education, but controlling the narrative on all information that is consumed and or produced by us is, it wasn't until recently till we felt like we had to put intellect or convert intellect into property. It's literally a word for it now, intellectual property, to where you can't trust somebody not to steal your own thoughts and say they're theirs. You know, and you can sue them if they do that. Now, you might just want to think about that. Like, what kind of system we living in, to where, you know, there's a potential that you can get your thoughts robbed from you. And then last but not least, probably most important, one of the most important is the infrastructure. So owning and controlling and producing everything that is necessary for you to survive day to day. All right. Owning and controlling and producing that. So let's think of it like this. Let me give you like a real time example. If we're thinking about food, listen, typically when down here in Florida, we can drive out 45 minutes outside the city. There's a bunch of farms out there. And you want to know who be working in farms? About 3 or 4 little small Mexican families. 3 or 4 of about probably 20 people max. But imagine you got a community of 100 to 200 to 1,000 people. And it's only required for you from your, from the agriculture department in your jurisdiction that you just put in an hour a week contributing to the agriculture there. And your hour a week probably equal a whole refrigerator worth of produce for you. Things like that. Just a few examples, but that's what it would be like. Now on the metaphysical tip, this is just like Dad was saying. This is probably one of the most key things here: the ability to sit back and heal. And this is really what that looks like. Imagine you waking up every day, and realizing, okay, I really don't have any mundane obligations. Like, I don't have to go stress to pay like a large set of bills. I ain't got nothing to do today. You know what I got time to do? I got time to tap into my own spirit and soul and my own creative process, my own creative capacity. I can do that today. Matter of fact, I can do it for the next 72 hours. I really ain't got a whole lot. I done contributed everything that's on the list this week, just in Monday and Tuesday. I got the rest of the week to kind of really do what I want to do, to get out here, and enjoy this nature, or like you say, just be as creative as possible, and to where you got a lot more time to think about and curate things that are, for lack of a better word, let's just say futuristic for your own community. You got time to develop your own community into the paradise that you imagine it, that you imagine that you want to live in. That's what happens. That's what happens in a self-sustainable, Aboriginal governed community. That's what's going to happen.
Well, one of the things that I want to add on, and I added in this situation about the disproportion of men to women. And this is a topic I've had with women and a few men, but men, they already understand that. In cutting down on chaos and hypocrisy, we know that the male to female ratio is, in some cases, 5 to 1, 8 to 1, 20 to 1, 100 to 1. And even though our primary focus is on a heterosexual design, if a man comes to the nation and he has 3 wives and they're all complicit or in agreement with that, we're not going to turn that away with the hypocrisy. Well, no, you got to have 1 man, 1 woman, because that's some religion that was established by this Luciferian agenda, where the kings and queens can have as men and women or whatever they want, but you, the subject, Well, we're not working with that design. We want to cut down on a lot of the chaos. Now, I know we're going to lose a lot of women over 50, and I've done the research. Women over 50 can't get with that concept. No, I got to have my man, and I ain't sharing it with nobody. Well, you know, you're going to probably end up staying in this Luciferian system, and you're going to have a lot of lonely nights. But in the case of our Aboriginal structure, the way it was done thousands of years ago, if there's a man and he has 3 wives, 4 wives, whatever the case might be, that will bring harmony, because the system, and from my experience from the 1950s up till now, just about every man that I knew had what the scenario of a side chick, and that's not a good scenario for women to be in. You know, we want to create a balanced system of being up front, all that lying, cheating, and playing games, head games. You know, just be up front. Say, hey, I got 3 women, and that's the case. So I am just one vote on the Council of Elders. There might be others to come in and that think differently, but for those men that understand this concept, if you got 3 wives, you will be welcome into this tribal situation. We understand what the mission is. Also, on the flip side of that, there's some dynamic women out there that might have 3 husbands. You know, and we're not gonna walk away from that and tell her, no, you can't come in because you got. If them 3 men are complicit or in agreement with that arrangement, as long as there's harmony, and it's, you know, and there's not going to be any fighting, because you understand these are my 3 husbands or these are my 3 wives. You know, as a woman, 3 husbands; as a man, 3 wives. That's the design that we will be dealing with. We're not closing the doors on that, because everywhere in society, on all levels, that, you know, that the main reason of this social discord is lying and mistrust, and we're going to eliminate that. So to you guys that understand where I'm coming from, and you ready to be a part of a powerful nation, of re-establishing ourselves on this planet as a species and evolving. Now, some of you come to the point, you know, your prerogative to have 1 wife. I can understand, because sometimes having 3 women in the same house together can be nerve-wracking, you know. But we're not going to create a false, hypocritical system denying that, when we know the reality is men are designed differently from women, and that's a true fact. So if for those that are interested in joining our nation, be sure to go to uaarnation.org. Give us a call, 813-669-7114. And let's get this program on, because to the grandparents, I hope we brought some clarity as to what you were thinking, what you're going to do about these grandchildren, and where they headed. You know, if you're going to leave a legacy, let's be up front with them. Let's at least put on what that governor of Maryland said. We're not going to allow you to be classified as prone to be a criminal, but we're going to change. We're going to make a difference. We're going to invest not into this corporate America BS. We're going to invest in our culture, our people, and reality. And that's the basis of what we're dealing with. Hey, man, that's been 9 minutes over. Mm-hmm. You got any closing statements?
No, I don't think we said it all. I think we said it all. Other than yeah, the typical closing. Yeah, I was gonna do that.
Well, let me do one reminder. Once again, get involved with this. You know, we're working on getting young people involved. It takes money. We're also working on a different banking system. You know, but right now we need to transfer whatever we can get out of this satanic Luciferian money system to create, converse. I got the words messed up. That equity into some positive equity transition it, brother, it's gonna take some resources. And if you don't have time, go to the website. If you pay $40 for the book, have your name put on our list of names that we're gonna call as these lands, tribal lands, open up. We will be calling you and ask what children or who is available from your family to get involved in this. You'll be getting emails on updates of different parts of the country that we're going to be opening up. So, hey, the parent is already done changed, and all the other cultures, all them slick bastards, them demons that's been working behind the scenes, they're creating their own money. They're going to buy their own lands, their own little islands and stuff. And but they got karma coming for them. You don't have it. So let us do what we need to do for our children, or you're gonna have some problems with your children. And I hate to put it to you that way, but that's what I'm hearing from these children, from these different school teachers. And if you don't believe me, go ask them. What is the mindset of these new children? Hey, on that case, man, go ahead and close us out.
All right. Well, it's been another Straight Talk Network morning show. Of course, as always, we love y'all. We'll see y'all.